Radio Rahim here with Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie, first of all, I've been interviewing you for a few years now. Every time you're always snazzily dressed. This is like your sharpest look. First of all, what's it like to be, announcing, kind of taking that step outside of the ring and looking at a new career?
It feels good. It feels good, and they keep me sharply dressed. I got no choice but to dress sharp if I'm going to be on TV, right? So it feels good, and it's less painful. You get hit, you don't get hit.
Now, turning to the career that you are best known for inside the ring, I interviewed Shane just last week. The fight seemed to be on. The press was starting up about it, and then all of a sudden it seems to have fallen out. First of all, is that true? Who are you fighting next?
Yeah, I don't know. The fight seems to have fallen apart. I wasn't asking for anything that wasn't on my contract. It was the purse was fine. It wasn't contrary to popular belief. I didn't turn down the purse. I actually accepted the purse. There's just certain stipulations in my contract that I'm owed as a main event fighter, and it's the first time I'm a main event fighter with Golden Boy, at least in the United States. So I was just trying to basically, without getting into too much details, I wasn't trying to ask for anything that wasn't already owed to me as per my contract deal.
So the entire reason that the fight's not happening, it's contractual. It has nothing to do with the matchup or the opponent.
Not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, like I said, I had accepted not only the fight, but I had accepted the purse as well.
So if Mosley's not available, that contract isn't what you like, what's next? What are you looking at? What would you prefer?
I don't know. Well, my team is going to meet with Golden Boy this week, and we'll try to figure out a deal, or try to figure out a plan or something, or try to figure out just a situation where everybody is mutually happy. Like I said, I'm not asking for anything that's not on my contract, but obviously if I have a problem in this fight, it's going to be a problem in every fight that I'm a main event in. So we have to come to an agreement somehow or some way. This is a deal that I signed 2.5 years ago. It's not a deal I just signed now. I signed with my promoters 2.5 years ago. So this is not like something that just popped up. It pops up now because I'm a main event now, but it's not just popped up. So I can't get into details, but again, I'm not asking for anything that wasn't owed to me contractually.
Now, getting into what's best for you career-wise, outside of the money, the contracts, just inside the ring, you've had a great couple of years. You're sporting that championship belt now. Matchup-wise, who do you think you match up best against? That's out there on the table.
There's some good fighters in the weight class, and Shane is one of them. There's guys like Madonna that I've mentioned. Josecito Lopez, I thought he's a guy who also doesn't have a spring date yet. You can't just pull names out of a hat because there's some guys who already have a matchup set up. So I look for guys that aren't busy, or have not yet signed a fight. So most of the guys, like Kell Brook and Devin Alexander is a phenomenal fight, but they're busy. They're fighting each other, so I can't fight one of them. So you got to look for a fight that not only is a good fight for everyone to watch and see, but also a fight where it's with guys that aren't already on the schedule.
This time out, you've been a world champion before, but you didn't get beat out of that title, right? You're holding this title now. This time around, does it feel different? Is this title more valuable to you?
Yeah, I think you appreciate it more. The first time around, I don't think I appreciated it as much. I felt like it was almost like owed to me. Like I always felt like I was good enough to win a world title, and I felt like it wasn't. Not that it wasn't special, because it was very special, but I don't know if I appreciated the title reign as much as I do now. This time it was much harder to get. It wasn't expected, as opposed to the first time. I think most of the people around me expected me to win my first world title. I don't think a lot of people expected me to win my second world title. So, I think what gets lost in all of the criticism for Paulie Malignaggi is you don't realize the longevity of my career. I may not always win looking good, but I've won more than most of my peers in my generation and generations past, or generations even after me. I've got an 11-year pro career. Most of it has been spent at the top of the boxing ladder. So, I feel like I should be given a little more credit, but at the same time, I don't expect it. But I'm still holding a world title, no matter what anybody says, or no matter how anybody likes it. And also another name I got to mention is my mandatory Diego Chavez. He's not 2-0 in the United States. He's undefeated, and he might be a possibility that I may have to fight too.
Now, Paulie, I think at this point you're maybe more popular now than even you were at the beginning of your career. You're more respected, but with the Mosley fight, people were still picking Mosley. Like, he hasn't won a fight in 4 years. I know it's got to feel a little sour to you. What do you think it's going to take for people to recognize, at least the way you see it, that you have the skills, that you're a true champion, and these guys maybe should be underdogs instead of you being the underdog holding the belt?
I don't really expect anything to change anybody's mind. Again, sometimes I win looking really good. Like I beat Sinchenko looking amazing, and then I beat Kano. Maybe some people didn't think it was so impressive, and I've done that consistently during my career. One thing I've been during my career is consistently inconsistent. But at the end of the day, the consistency, the one consistent thing is that I've been able to remain at the top of the sport for a long time, longer than most guys. Longer than most guys who, if you listen to the way people talk about them, always are talked about better than me or having more talent than me. And I'm not even talking about my weight class, just in general. Look at the guys that were in my generation. Look at the guys that came after me. And how many of them are still around, or how many of them lasted longer than me or just as long as me? Aside from elite guys, very, very little guys, you know? So, you know, it gets lost in the mix, but I don't expect it to change. I don't have a style that people really appreciate, but at the end of the day, you know, my bank account speaks for itself. I've been here long enough to where I've made a pretty good living for myself.
Now, you in your early 20s, I mean, early 30s, about 32, you know, this is your second championship, like you say, you value it more, you appreciate it more. This is a lot of the times when guys start to make their legend, you know, make their name. Not that you're on your way out, but this is the second half of your career for sure. What kind of mark do you feel like you left in the first half of your career, and what's changed about Paulie Malignaggi? Are you getting better? You know, what do we see in the second half that maybe you didn't see in the first half?
I just feel like, again, aside from appreciating it more, I feel like it's a situation where, you know, I've learned more, and I'm not as wild, you know. I don't know, you know. I think the second part of my career, you appreciate it more because you understand things a little better. You know, the first part of my career, it was kind of like a blur. You know, it was just happening, and you know, I just felt so entitled, even if a lot of people didn't, you know, feel I was entitled to anything. I just felt so entitled. And the second part of my career has just been a blessing because, you know, I didn't feel very entitled at all. You know, I wasn't sure if I'd be here where I am, and so the appreciation of it kind of lets you take a step outside, take a step back, and say, hey, man, you know, this is not an easy way to make a living. Most guys will never win a world championship. Even if people have a problem with the alphabet titles and say, oh, they give the alphabet titles away for free nowadays, they don't give them away that free, because most of the fighters that they say are better than me don't have world titles. You know, you look at guys who, I don't know, I'll run off a couple of names. For example, guys like Edison Miranda will hype more than me. Guys like Alfredo Angulo hype more than me. Guys like James Kirkland are hype more than me. And the list can go on and on. None of them have ever won an alphabet world title. None of them. The interim doesn't count. You know what I'm saying? So, and the list can go on and on. I'm just running names off the top of my head. You know, I've won 2 of them. I've won 2 legitimate world titles. You know, so I've done things that most people will never achieve. And no matter how I've gotten them fighting. You know, and I never had anything handed to me. You know, I had to go to Ukraine and win my world title in a fight where nobody picked me to win. In a fight that nobody wanted to take because they had to go over there to take it, and you know, I had to go do it. You know, it hasn't been easy, but you know, you don't appreciate the good times without going through the rough times. You know.
And lastly, Paulie, now that you're on the outside of the ring, you do your analysis. It's 2013, start of a new year. Who are you seeing, the up-and-coming guys, the young guys? Who do you think, you know, is about to make a mark in the sport? And then, are you looking to face those guys? Are you, you know, sizing up the young guys' competition?
Oh, so you're looking at some of the young guys in my weight class? Young guys in my weight class right now, I mean, who do we got? I mean, it seems like the welterweight division is, I don't know, it's not that young. I mean, guys like Kell Brook are young. I mean, granted, I'm one of the older guys, so I can't say not that young because they're all pretty much younger than me, you know? But, you know, Devin Alexander's young, but he's in his prime at the same time. He's not a young guy, you know? Kell Brook is a young guy coming up, you know? That's a good,
outside of welterweight, I'm saying as an analyst.
You know, yeah, I see guys who can take the sport to the next generation. You know, Danny Garcia is a fun fighter to watch. He's young. Adrian Broner is a fun fighter to watch. He's young. Andre Ward is in his prime right now. I think he doesn't get enough appreciation, you know? And these are American fighters, you know? I think there's too much hype that goes out to the foreign fighters that we let them come here and make money, and that's not anything against them because they're good fighters if they earn it. But I think we got to hype our own guys too, because we got some guys that can fight here and they don't become superstars because we don't allow them to become superstars. We're making these foreign guys into superstars because they're coming with a lot of fanfare. We got more fighters here that know how to fight than any other place in the world. Just because they're not stars doesn't mean they can't fight better than anybody else in the world. And the problem is we don't give them the same fanfare. So these foreigners become more popular than our guys. But we got the best fighters in the world in this country. I firmly believe that.
Thanks, Paulie. Radio Rahim with Paulie Malignaggi.